I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good, thank you for calling back.
No problem at all.
Yeah, so I'm putting together a bit of a kind of one of these sort of state of the market pieces
Right.
for a supplement that we've got coming up, and I'm looking at the idea of online Web 2.0 technologies and how they relate to traditional, in inverted commas, ethnographic methods, and sort of how these are coexisting, or whether there's any pressure and so on. So I thought you'd be an interesting person to talk to.
Okay. I'll do my best. Was there something else? Sorry, have you finished?
No, that's all. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just wanted to get an idea first of all of, I mean, to what extent do you use these sorts of technologies? Because obviously what you do involves videoing people.
Yes.
And I mean, the alternatives that I guess I'm talking about are, it's things like online communities and online focus groups and all these ways of connecting people via the internet without having to be in the same place, which I mean, which is kind of quite different to what you do, really. I don't know how relevant it is, but I mean, how do you feel the influence of those things on your work? Do you notice that at all?
Well, personally speaking, it's a massive influence on our work, but we haven't really quite cracked it, in the sense that the way there's something really critical here, and that is that we use video. Video is fundamental to the way we work, because we use the material to scrutinize and to review and to share, and that's how we generate insights. So being able to see the same events again and again and again, to be able to reframe them and see them in new ways, all that kind of stuff, we have to film, we have to record. So what some people might also call ethnography is to me just qualitative research with a video camera, or even with a still camera, or even just doing interviews in someone's home that people will call ethnographic research, which is not, in my view, ethnographic research. So, in fact, I have a whole, you might want to go to this site on YouTube, I have a whole channel dedicated to it called Ethnosnacker.
Yeah, I saw some of your stuff on there. Yeah,
Okay. We've got a huge group on LinkedIn who subscribe to it. So it just shows kind of how interesting and how much debate it's sort of created. On LinkedIn, on LinkedIn.com. I have a rather large group of various people who are members of it. And if I just take you through the sorts of things we've done in the past. Before YouTube was even on our radar, in fact on anybody's radar, we were asking people to make films of themselves and upload them to us.
Right.
And or even, send us the tapes that we would then have to transfer, depending on which country they were sent to us, from NTSC to PAL, and then edit and then put online and invite clients to go and have a look at them and leave messages for those respondents to questions, if you like, for them to respond to.
Okay.
It was, as you can imagine, very cumbersome, very expensive, because just simply transferring and then editing content is not an easy thing to do at all. It's very time consuming. And then the biggest and the most surprising hurdle was clients themselves, who were actually quite reluctant to interact directly with the respondents. So what we were trying to do was cut out the middleman, i.e. us, and say, here is a conduit directly into the home and the lives of various respondents. Talk to them, look at their films, and interact with them. One of the reasons why they didn't want to was because, imagine if you have 5 or 6 clients from one company subscribing to a bunch of households. Their paranoia was, what if we repeat the same questions again and again? So I said to them, okay, well, just send me your questions and I'll moderate them. I'll make sure that nobody repeats the same question, etc., etc. And then it became a situation, well, okay, you can look after it then. So suddenly, I was also, on top of the cost of doing the editing and the filming and all that kind of stuff, I was also having to basically run these dialogues with the respondents. They were moderately successful from an insight point of view. Not deep insight, but just kind of earthing yourself, reality checking yourself. It partly had to do with the fact that the briefs weren't that juicy, I don't think. They were quite broad. Mind you, these were pilots that we were running, so clients were sort of testing them out. But I had Reckitt Benckiser, Procter & Gamble, General Electric on board. And we were looking at kitchen behavior, we were looking at bathrooms, we even had Cousins on board. And I think they all got a lot out of them. I mean, P&G especially got an awful lot out of them. But at the end of the day, Robert, what it comes down to is the sexiness of the technology, the sexiness of the tools that we're using, the online access, is irrelevant. What it comes down to, it's a bit like buying a sexy new Mercedes-Benz. After 3 months, it becomes a mode of getting from A to B. What clients wanted was insight. They wanted solutions. They wanted answers to their questions. Okay, the process, no matter how enticing and sexy it looks, just gets pushed into the background when all they need are answers. And these are busy people. These are people who don't have time to what I call thinking, to do thinking. So they want the thinking done for them, and the ideas to be put in front of them. And what we were hoping, wrongly hoping, was that they would actually get a lot out of doing this stuff on their own. And the whole idea was that it would become, virtually zero cost to us. And with the advent of sites like YouTube and other sites that we've created since then, I had a site called Immersion Tank, which we ran for a while, which clients could access on their own, and they could communicate with the respondents. But again, it just comes down to what they still need at the end of the day is a report of some description or a finding, or it's still very much a traditional delivery method, and the outputs are very much the same. The process is irrelevant.